Many thanks indeed and welcome to the National Outsourcing Association Summer Party and End User Experience. My name is Adrian Quayle. I'm a board member of the NOA. I've been on the board for a few years, but my current responsibilities are working in the regions. I live in Manchester and I'm trying to expand the NOA activities in the north, and I'm also working on a British Standard Committee on a new British Standard which will be issued in the autumn around collaborative business relationships. And some of you should have had emails from the NOA inviting you to participate in meetings if you wish to do that. So I've just come hot foot from a meeting that we had earlier today, and obviously pleased to have this opportunity to chair the session this afternoon. First thing I want to do is actually thank our sponsors, Hogan Lovells, for the lovely accommodation that we're experiencing here today, and obviously very much appreciate the opportunity provided by them in hosting the event. I'm obliged to mention to you the health and safety aspects. There are 2 doors at the rear and 2 doors at the front, depending on which way you're looking at the auditorium, if the alarm sounds or if the fire marshals appear. And the chap there with the white shirt, he will be dashing out the building if the alarm goes, so we should follow him probably. As far as the event goes today, obviously we've got quite an exciting lineup of end user speakers. We wanted absolutely to focus on end users today and sharing with you their triumphs, their failures and their all-round experiences. But this isn't a standard conference presentation. Basically we're going to work on the basis of of short 10-minute presentations, and I'll be very strict about the timing on that. And the idea is we'll do them one after the other to give you a wide range of information in a very short period of time. So there won't be any interruptions of the speakers, there'll be no sponsor messages, it'll just be the end user experiences. The speakers are actually all sat in the row just in front of me now, and if I introduce them very briefly from the right hand side, we've got Michael Stock from the BBC. Michael is actually head of business and partnerships, and he's responsible for a number of outsourcing relationships. He's done some very interesting things. One of the things that is actually mentioned to me is he's on the board of the Customer Contact Association as well, so he's obviously spreading his skills and experience, and we appreciate the opportunity for him to do that today. Second speaker will be Sarah Manning from from BT. You gave her the wrong title there. Head of Services Improvement and Supplier Management. Sarah is actually got some really great experience in that she's worked on the service provider side in BT and is now a service manager looking after a major outsourcing relationship, and she'll talk to us about that. Our third speaker is actually Kevin Devoy from Centrica, and Kevin, in fact, was saying to me, and I hope he's okay for me to say this, but there's been a slight change in Centrica, and he's moved over onto the British Gas branded side of the business, and he's responsible for the Centre of Excellence in procurement in that team. The fourth speaker is actually going to be James Gardner from the Department of Work and Pensions. James, interesting sort of background. He obviously worked very heavily in the technology area, and he's an author of several books, sort of innovation and the Future Proof Bank, and he's currently writing How Hits Work, which presumably talks about hits on websites and things like that. So I don't know if you're going to mention it in the presentation, but I hope things are going well writing the book, because it sounds like you've got a busy life, and how you fit these things in, I don't know. The fifth speaker will be Ian MacDonald from the Symbion Foundation, and Ian has great experience over the last sort of 15 years working with a wide variety of multinational companies. So he's come in to actually take over quite an exciting project, which I think is using sort of open source techniques, etc., which is great experience. I know he's going to share something of that with us. And then the final speaker on my left, to your right, is actually Andy Beale from The Guardian. And Andy has been, he joined Guardian News and Media in 1996, having previously worked with the Yorkshire Evening Post. So he's led a number of key IT initiatives, including G&M's relocation to King's Place, and he works on key cloud computing projects. So I think there are going to be some really interesting things for him to actually share with us. So just getting back to then the event format. As I mentioned, it's not a standard conference. It's going to be run as short, quick-fire 10-minute presentations. Instead of live Q&A sessions, we're going to encourage you to tweet the questions. Now, I think everything is okay in terms of the technology in the room. I think everybody's got their technology working. The one thing I would ask, though, is can you turn the your phones, your PDAs to silent, because obviously you will still have them on if you want to tweet, but they've got to be silent. I heard one go off a few minutes ago, but I thought, well, I'll ignore that to this point. Immediately after presentation, the speakers will go into another room where they will sit and answer the questions and be interviewed by the Sourcing Focus team. And if you haven't brought the technology with you, do not fear. There are in fact question slips on all of the chairs, and we would actually ask that you write your question on a question slip. And James from the NOA, I'm looking to see where James is. James is there, right. James will actually take your questions and go and feed them in. And the idea basically is that all of the input from the day will be made available on Twitter and on the Sourcing Focus website subsequently. Clearly Twitter in concentrated format, but the Sourcing Focus website will actually contain the material from the session today. So very strictly then, trying to keep to the sort of 10 minutes per speaker. I'd now like to call upon Michael Stock to come and give the first presentation.